is the first time I forgot. There we go. Um, all right, so today's lesson is about generosity. Um, let's see, Maximus, can you read the first two, if man be imbued, and then generosity, please?
Generosity is giving and sharing. You share freely, not with the idea of receiving something in return. You find ways to give others happiness, and you give simply because it is a joy to give to others. Generosity is one of the best ways to show love and friendship to everyone you know.
Perfect, thank you. And the top one, it says, if man be imbued with all good qualities, but be selfish, all other virtues will fade, sorry, or pass, and eventually he will grow worse. So today we're going to concentrate on becoming generous, which really ties into not just giving something, but directly into our financial aspects of life. So the first question I'm going to post in the chat, and again, since we're such a small group, just go ahead and unmute yourself and share. I know several friends, Afro and Samuel, who usually share a lot, they're not here, so everybody else has to chime in. So what is it? What can you bring? What can we do to bring joy and happiness to others? Again, feel free to open your microphone. We may not even do a breakout session today because there's so few of us here. What are the different things that you can do, or you have been doing, or you see your children or the children that you're working with have done to bring joy and happiness to others? Anyone? Maximus, what do you do to bring joy to others?
We can praise them, we can join them, whatever they do, we just accompany them. Then we like a friend, we can talk anything with them. They'll feel very happy with your company.
Okay, very good. Those are great things. Yeah, there's so much that we can do, and it's not. Whenever we talk about being generous to others, people immediately think about what is it that something tangible, something material that we have to give them, and it doesn't have to be always material. Praise is a great thing. I love that. I have worked with many before starting Mind Treasures. I have worked for many managers, with many bosses, and often most of them, they just wanted to complain. They just wanted to complain and never have any praise for the workers. And it's like, well, there's got to be some time of praise, even when I'm not doing something right. I like to kind of think about smiles, the hug. These are all different things that we can give. Terry says, offering time to listen to others, just being in their presence. Exactly. A lot of times, I know I'm that way. I want to talk. I just want to talk. But if you can realize that we have 2 ears to hear and then 1 mouth to talk, but it seems like our mouth is mostly working, and often our ears are not working as much as they should be. So I'll put that in here. But it is, being generous is a big part of, should be a big part of everyone's life, everyone's daily activity, that we need to kind of think about it. Sharing. Samuel, welcome aboard. Would you like to share something? It's a small group, so everyone can, it's audio still connecting. Sharing, being generous with what we are learning, the knowledge. This is one great thing that we, as we have been encouraging everyone, is to share the knowledge that you're gaining in here as part of this program, because as we can all know, not many people have the opportunity to receive this education. This is not something that's widely available to a lot of people. It's not presented in schools. Parents often don't know how to manage their finances, let alone teach their children or others. So it's very important in here. And I'm gonna let you on a little secret in here. Maximus has a great program in Malaysia. He has designed this octopus. I don't know if he has that thing around or not. He usually has it around, But so remember, we use a box, he used an octopus to help children learn how to divide up their money. And I think it has three slots in it. So he's got a great program that he licenses to other people, but it's bringing that joy of happiness of doing things for other people. Sandy says giving your time. Exactly, giving your time to others is very important. So we can do a lot of great things with our time and being generous in there. Let's see. The next question that we have is that what are some of locations or organizations? Let me see what Inu says. Inu says displaying words of affirmation to others. That is true. I'm gonna put that in here. There's so much that we can do. So now let me ask you this: do you think our generation, the current generation that's on Earth, is it a generous generation, or has it become a selfish generation? Do most people think about themselves, or do they think about others? What is it? What are your thoughts? Maximus, what do you think? How do you describe the current generation? What you see in Malaysia or other places?
I have observed children when they are still below 12, they are still very generous. Maybe the environment, or maybe the maybe the experience when they grow up, maybe by the age of 14, 15, 16, they started to change, to become not so generous, selfish, maybe the experience. So I think it is because of the environment. And then education is very important to keep on reminding them generosity is very important to everyone around us.
Yep. I think we definitely see that. Anybody else has any idea whether our current generation is generous or has it become selfish? Anybody else would like to share? Alex, your mic is not open. I thought his mic was open. So we can see, and I totally agree with Maximus, is that yes, they are. Maybe it's because the world is becoming more and more materialized. They're saying that we are leaving our virtues and our spirituality behind, but then becoming so attached to it, especially these devices. Again, everybody's being born with one of these, and they see, and it's just like they're so consumed with the devices, they're not thinking about anything else in here. So that's one thing. We can keep that, and then I think we might even have enough to do a breakout session. Friends are coming in. Next question is, what are some of the locations or organizations that you have been involved in? I know this is very big in US. There are many people in our town. Our area has about 3 million people, and there are 12,000 NGOs just in our area. And I know that particularly from friends in Africa, every time that I get to know a new friend in Africa that comes through our program, they're also thinking about doing something, whether it's for all different kinds of causes, HIV, financial education, programs for children and youth, entrepreneurship, leadership skills. What are some of the organizations that you, your family, or in your area is available? Let's see. Sandy says, on my side, the organization on help is South African National Blood Service, as I am a blood donor. Okay, that's great. That's one thing I do too, regularly. I actually call them Dracula because my blood type is 8 negative, and as soon as my 8 weeks is up, they always call. They text, they call. It's like, Alex, you got to come donate blood. So they're the blood suckers, and I love it. It's great in there. Anybody else? Maximus, what are some of the opportunities available in your area to get involved with other organizations?
Yeah, we have a lot of NGOs, and to me, I think we are blessed. Our area here, I am living in a place called Penang in Malaysia. Penang, the population is about 2 million people or so, And then we have a lot of NGOs. I don't have the count, but we have people like in charitable, some of them in religion based, some volunteers, and some organization. They help every household to collect, recycle, to so that they can recycle the product, or maybe they sell it and they donate the money to the
Mm.
needies. And then lately, because of COVID-19, we have a lot of food banks all over. Wherever we go, you can see food bank. You can collect your lunch, dinner. Everybody prepare additional foods, so anybody who need, because a lot of people lost their job and income for the past 6 to 1 years. So I have been working with some of the organization, like for example, we have this, we call it Malaysia National Financial Literacy Association, where we conduct a lot of awareness program initiative with a lot of corporate to create awareness to people to pay attention on financial literacy. uh, and then some other like for example JCI Alliance Club, they are very active, but lately because of COVID-19, every event has been interrupted, but we can do online some of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's
Thank
very
you.
good. So sure. So I have a few comments in here. Afe says we signed up as volunteers in the Parks and Recreation Department for cleanup days in our area. So that's great. Let's see. Terry says church by conducting VBS vocational Bible study during holidays for children. Yes, as it said, there's a lot of faith-based organizations where we can volunteer our time, and particularly to the education of the children. For those of you who came a little later, we shared the prayer for children. Our children need so much education and so much hand holding, that it's both spiritual education, academic education, and there's just not enough help. And this is, believe it or not, even here in the U.S., we have many children, because we go to school, when we work with them, certain areas, they cannot even read or write. They cannot even write their own names. It's very, unfortunately, very sad of what's happening. And it's not the school's problem. It's just that the way sometimes the families don't have the resources to work with their children, because our school systems cannot do it by themselves. Parents have to be involved. And in a lot of areas, the homes are broken. There's really not a home. It's a single parent. And that one parent is working 2, 3 jobs sometimes to make ends meet. So we see the children being raised by their siblings, by grandparents, by neighbors, and sometimes, unfortunately, even no one. So there is so much need for community volunteerism and helping people. Alex from Norway says community choir, sports club. There's so much that we can do. All right, so let's move on to the last question. And the question is, so we were thinking about other people. We were thinking, where are we going to do it? What is it that we can do for ourselves? Let's not forget ourselves too, our sanity, our happiness. What is it that we can do to bring joy and happiness to ourselves? What are the different things? Any ideas? Does anyone do anything nice for themselves? And that will lead us into retirement and so forth. Any ideas? Because we need to keep our sanity too. I mean, it's great to think about others. Maximus, what do you do to keep yourself happy?
uh, what do I do to keep myself happy?
Yeah.
As long as every day I can finish whatever I plan, I'll be very happy. To me, this 1 or 2 years, I very easy to contented, because as long as we survive, yeah, I'm very happy already.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very good thing. If we can finish what we're supposed to do, I think that's a great goal to have. It's like yeah, because we do, especially now, I think everyone has become a little bit overwhelmed with all the tasks, since we are not driving. And I have not driven to work. I've been working from home, from the home office. and it feels like I'm constantly working during the week, during the weekend. It's like, okay, I need to take some time. I was playing the piano yesterday. It's like, and I haven't done that for probably a few years. And the piano is there. It's like, okay, I don't need to be on the computer. I don't need to be reading. Let me just sit there and play. And it was like riding a bicycle. I was surprised that I could still play. So that's what kind of helped me, brought joy and happiness to me. So let's do this. I think there's enough.
Sometimes, oh,
Yes, go ahead.
sometimes we can just turn the TV off and just be in silence and read and
Mm-hmm.
just meditate.
Yep.
So
Yep. Everybody does something different, but I think it's important not to forget ourselves either. Terry says, planting flowers and seeing them blooming in my garden just makes me smile. Everybody does something different in here, so that's all great. Uh, Maximus says, making a phone call to friends. I think that is so important. It is. Exactly. Often I just grab my phone and I go through my list. My problem is that my contact is everyone who's on the Mind Treasures list because of the WhatsApp communications that I have. So everyone shows up. But it's still great to sometimes even go through my list. Oh, I haven't talked to this person for a while. Let me just call this person, just chit chat. And sometimes they do get surprised, like, Alex, what do you want? It's like nothing. I just want to talk to you. That's all I want. So let's do a breakout session, and then Alex says reading the Holy Scriptures. That's definitely true. Let's do two breakout rooms and have a little bit of intimate conversations for like 10, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. I think since it's a small group, we'll just do 10 minutes and then we'll come back. So let's see, Maximus, I got you in room one and I will go into the other room. So 10 minutes and then we'll come back, guys. All right, let's see who's coming. Oh, there we go. Speaker gallery. There we go. That's why I couldn't see everyone. All right, who would like to share something? Terry, Anus, Samuel, about being generous, being what is it that I know Terry and Anus are Sunday teachers at their church. What is it that you guys are seeing from people, from the children that you're working with? Anything exciting? Anus, go ahead. Your mic was open. You want to share something?
Oh, yeah. Hi, everyone. So when it comes to generosity, Terry had spoken about, we have something called the Vocational Bible School, which happens every holiday here in Kenya. So for us, being generous is, it plays a key role, especially in my community, because where our church is, we are surrounded by two major slums, and most of these children, they come and we give them food, we give them materials, and you can see by the end of the day, even some of them, they don't have even like a decent meal to have at night, but when they have like maybe a meal in church, they're really, really excited and they are looking forward to come to the next time. So for us, I think that is our core value. And it has made us to have hundreds and hundreds of children who come there because now they are excited when they see we are generous, they're giving them something. Yeah.
Okay, very good, very good. That's great. Thank you. Samuel, would you like to share anything? I don't know if your connection is good. There we go.
Yeah, okay. In regards to children, what I have started doing is the children within my neighborhood. I've, I've mobilized them, and the purpose is to get them to understand the importance of um, growing trees, vegetables, and all that around us, the effect of climate change and all that. So I want them to have a feel of what it is to grow trees around us. So I go around gathering waste containers and other stuff with them. Then I write their names on each container. I tell you, this is what you are going to plant. So yesterday we nursed them. Then I wrote their names and I shared it among them. So each one is going to take care of a particular one, watering it. Now, I'll also ensure that when the produce comes, they will take it home themselves so that they will have a feel of what it is, what it means to do that. And wherever they go, they will also decide to help because all our areas are getting flooded and even with vegetables and all those crops, planting them at home, you can have the opportunity of getting fresh food from all around us. The lands are around us, we are not making use of them and all that stuff. And the children too are in the cities, they don't know what is farming. All they know about it is reading it from books and TV, watching it on TV. So with this one, now you have a feel of how practically it is. So they will develop that love for it as well.
Okay.
Thanks.
Very good, very good. That's a great project. Yes, it's. I think most of our educational systems have become so focused on academics, math, science, which they're all needed, but that's all they're concentrating on. They're not teaching our school systems all around the world. They're not teaching what do we do with the knowledge that we gain. And we do have a global group that one of our members from India actually brought that up and said, how are we going to change our educational systems? How are we going to do so our children learn to do different things in their lives? Hazel, would you like to share something about?
Can I add something else?
Absolutely, yes.
One thing that I'm going to have a hard time, but I would still want to push to learn is the attitude of kids, how to manage them. Sometimes away from home, like by the time you go there, so one of them have sneaked to try to have a look at the birds, how it looks like. Sometimes they will pour in to see the seed and all that. So it creates some irritating, some anger, some against them. So I want to use this opportunity to also learn how to deal with children, learn myself, my temper, to be patient with them and to manage people. So one of the benefits that I think I'm going to get from it.
Very good, very good. Yes, it is. Hopefully at some point of time, our school systems become so inclusive that it brings everything together, not just the academics, but the academics, the character development, the spiritual development, because these are all needed and we've kept them so separate that hopefully at some point of time, they'll be all mixed together. Terry, did you want to add anything?
No, basically it just lies across our children, and especially as we're involved in church ministry. We see, I like the way you have put it, that where do we put all this knowledge that we have learned? So we need to put it across to our children that as much as we are learning back in school, there's more to learn in our spiritual nourishment. There's more to bring in the financial literacy in them. So I like the way you have put it up, that we need to spread the word across even to the children, so that as they grow up having a whole setup of core values within them. Thank you.
Yep, exactly. Okay, very good. Thank you. Hazel, would you like to add anything?
Well, I didn't say anything earlier, but I like to, well, it helps parents and children with St. Jude Hospital, because a lot of times children are born with, born or get cancer later. And so the parents don't have to worry about paying anything. And so I like to contribute to St. Jude because all they need to worry about is the health of the children. So that's generosity as far as I know.
Yep. I mean, there's so many. And for those of you, I haven't introduced Hazel. Hazel is one of our facilitators here in San Diego. She has attended a couple of sessions in here, and she loves working with children. I mean, we all do. This is what we really love to do. We are missing it. We have not seen our children in the schools for, I mean, we have seen them virtually, but we have not. And as schools are opening up, we don't know if we can go back into the schools or not because of everything that's still happening with COVID. So this is great. I think a lot of great points in here. I'm going to end the breakout sessions, and then we'll go back into the main session and join everyone else. So we'll see you guys back in the main room. Okay, we're waiting for everyone to come back. Is everyone back? It seems like we're good. Yep. Okay, everyone's back. Maximus, would you like to share what your group talked about?
Yeah, my group Mike will represent us to share.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Mike, go ahead, please.
All right. So in our group, in our breakout group, we're asked the question, what things do we do to bring others joy and also bring ourselves joy, to make ourselves happy? So one of the things that came out was that smiling is one of the things that we can help to bring others joy and to make ourselves happy. It was mentioned that in the process of smiling, you're not only giving, but you're sharing. And then the other thing is laughing with others. You laugh with others, you smile. Yeah, all that is bringing you happiness. And also greeting others on the streets. You know, when you greet others on the streets, you're sharing. You're actually showing concern that you care. And then the other thing is giving something that somebody can't pay you back for that thing. I think that is what we discussed. That's a short summary of what we discussed.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. That's great. Yeah. Talking to other people in the streets, that's something that doesn't happen that often here in US, even within the neighborhoods. I mean, it's very unfortunate that um, a lot of neighbors don't know each other. They don't, not that we don't greet each other, we do greet each other, but we don't necessarily know each other. And we just kind of say hi, pass by, sometimes stop. And uh, it's a little bit better when they're young children. I remember when our two boys were younger, we had a much deeper connection with our neighbors that had children and our. But then as soon as the children grew up, they became teenagers and started going to high school, and they were not even playing with each other anymore. They just went their separate ways. And the families, kind of the neighbors, stopped talking to each other too. The only time that we began to talk, there was one night a few years ago that we lost electricity in our town for like almost 24 hours. And that brought people together. Everyone actually was in the streets because we had no TV, no internet, nothing to do anything. We were all just all in the streets. So in our group, it was shared that and that is helping the environment. Let's see, there was some additional information about the vocational Bible study that's being done, helping in the hospitals. That is something that, particularly prior to COVID, right now we cannot go into hospitals, but prior to COVID, there were many children and many adults that did not. They always love to receive a visitor, just going and visiting them in the hospital or in a nursing home. They always like that. There's so many things that we can do to bring joy and happiness to others. So I want to share a from our Faith and Finances when we started. Share a quote in here. Let me share my screen. This one. And these are the two that, let me see if I can make it a little bigger. So it's like, what do we do with our free time? So part of our goal is to become financially independent, financially secure, so we don't have to think about money. We don't have to think about our life necessities. But then what do we do with our time? And that's why we brought this generosity. Not only that generosity is a great act, but also it's necessary. So I'm going to read number 20. It says, beseech ye the one true God to grant that ye may taste the savor of such deeds as are performed in his path, and partake of the sweetness of such humility and submissiveness as are shown for his sake. Forget your own selves and turn your eyes towards your neighbor. Bend your to whatever may foster the education of nothing is or can ever be hidden from God. If ye follow in his way, his incalculable and imperishable blessings will be showered upon you. And I can say personally, I have definitely experienced this, particularly since we started doing Mind Treasures program. Just a little background. Initially, my wife and I, when we started this, we were hoping that this would be our business and we can make money from it, we can earn a living from it. But over the past 15 years, we have completely realized that that is almost impossible. It's an education that everyone needs. Testimony to that is because all of you are here, everyone who participates in the program, but no one is willing to pay for such a program, even though it's so needed. Just the fact that our schools are allowing us to go into their classrooms. So the way we've been doing our program in the schools here is that first we secure a sponsorship from government agencies, from foundations, from individuals, from companies. And then once we have the money, because we have to pay for our staff, we have to pay for the material, then we go to schools and present the program. And I know I can speak for myself, and Hazel probably can share some too, is that the best reward that we can get is the changes that we see in the children, in everyone that participates in our program. And I have been talking to several members of this team that we're working together, and it's just amazing. Even little stories that all of you send, it's like, this is what we did, this is how it changed my life, and this is how I'm going to change others' lives. That has become our payment for doing this program. So that is really, I have truly experienced this thing, and hopefully everyone does. And I know everyone does in their own ways, whatever we do to bring joy and happiness to others. All right, so before we get our next session is going to be about investing. So I want to go back into where we started, the goals that we set for ourselves in our patients. So if you remember, we talked about this as we did early on in the program. We are always investing in our future, and our investments are not necessarily just in the monetary aspects of life. And that's the beauty of teaching, sharing, and investing, that we can teach them to young children. Of course, we cannot teach, let's say, investing in stocks or companies or real estate to young children, but we can definitely teach them how to invest in different aspects of life. So again, if you remember, we started that our financial affairs does not start at age 3, 10, 12, or 18. For a long time here in US, there was a big push to teach finances to youth before they graduate from high school. The focus was, oh, they need to learn how to manage their finances at the grade 11 or 12. And it's like, that is maybe a little bit too late. And I'm so glad that the way our program has evolved is that our finances starts actually at the point of conception. When the baby is conceived in the mother's womb, that is when our finances start, not the material finances, but we see that in that space, in those 9 months, the mother concentrate our efforts on developing hands, eyes, fingers, everything that we need for this world. And then once we come to this world, we broke it down into 3 different time zones, if you want to call it. Our childhood and youth years, that we rely on our parents to take care of our life necessities while we gain education, some experience, and we begin to earn some money, maybe from age 15, 16, depending on what society we live in. Then we got our working years, which is about 50 years, but it's not exact. We start with active income. We talked about passive income in there. So our goal is to graduate from active to passive income while continuing to enhance our education experience. And the passive income, as we talked about, is needed because during our golden years, next stage of the year, the retirement, whatever we want to call it, and it could come even sooner than 70. There's no magic number about it. Some people retire at age 50 or maybe even much younger. But that is when we can rely on mostly on passive income. And it's not about just not doing anything else, enjoying. Of course, we're going to be enjoying our life. But we know that at some point of time, our physical body cannot continue to support us. We cannot continue to go to work, do something physical. So that's why having that passive income through investments is so much needed. And that is when we want to enjoy a worry-free life, not to be a burden on ourselves and our society and our children. And then throughout this time, again, we are preparing for those that believe in life after death, that our soul continues to progress, is to make sure that we are prepared for something that we have been promised in the sacred books. So it might as well be prepared for it. These 7 steps: knowledge of God, love of God, faith, philanthropic deeds, self-sacrifice, generosity that we were just talking about, becoming detached from this world. We cannot live without our phones, but we don't always have to have the latest phone. That is not, we don't have to have iPhone 12. Whenever iPhone 13 is coming out, I haven't heard about iPhone 13 yet. But life is not just about, our concentration is not about having the latest and the biggest thing, whether it's a house, phone, whatever, TV, whatever that is. And becoming holy, and because our true reality is spiritual reality, is not the material reality. And then also leaving a legacy behind. So in the next hour, we will concentrate on this part, the investments and passive income. Before we do that, I have been monitoring everyone's assignments. I think some people have gotten busy. I got a few messages that they haven't been able to do their assignments. Again, the assignments are not for us. It does not make any difference in our life. It's really for yourself. It helps you to learn the material. It helps you to implement it in your personal life, because this is not like physics that we learn and we might teach it to other people, but we don't necessarily use it in our, we don't sit down and do a calculation of why we are not floating in the air. Finances is something that we all need. We all deal with it on a daily basis in here. So with that, any question about generosity, anything? Are we good? Let's see, do I have any questions in the chat or anything? Maximus, would you like to add anything before we take a 5-minute break and then continue with investments? And
so far, no.
no, we're good. Okay. Any questions from anyone? We're good with the generosity part? Okay, why don't we take a 5-minute short break, stretch a little bit, and then we'll come back and do retirement and investing. So 5 minutes, everyone. All right, I hope everyone had a chance to stretch a little bit so we don't sit for too long. The topic of our discussion for this segment is about continuation of being generous. So we talked about what are the different, what can we do to bring joy and happiness to ourselves. And what we like to segue into is becoming selfless and generous toward our own self in the future. So I'm going to share my screen. We know that our golden age is going to come. Well, some people may not make it that far, but for most people, and as we are seeing, the age of retirement or average age that people are living continue to increase. People are living longer and longer. So it is quite important for us to plan for the future. If it doesn't come, well, we leave what we planned for. We can leave it to our children, to our grandchildren, but we definitely want to make sure that we do take care of our future in that. So what is retirement time? Retirement time, they want to call it the next stage of life, whatever we want to call it. It's a time that we want to be financially worry-free, not wake up every morning, think about how I'm going to pay for my life necessities, for shelter, for food, for water, and all of that. We don't want to degrade ourselves, be a burden on ourselves and our children and our society. Enjoy the flexibility of doing what we like to do and not be bound by doing things that we have to do to survive. Again, retirement does not mean that we just sit around and don't do anything, but it's something that we want, a time that we want to enjoy. Having a steady income source, something that, again, does not require our physical body. When to start saving? What are your thoughts? So I'm going to put that in the chat. Let me open up my chat. What is kind of expected in your society? Or what do people think as when should they start saving for retirement? So I'm going to put that question in there. Let's see, what do we get from our audience? And then how much to save? There are all kinds of financial advisors have some ideas in mind. A lot of them sit down here, at least in the US, when you meet up with a financial advisor, they analyze the individual's whole life. And unfortunately, they come back and say, well, yeah, based on your situation, you're not going to have enough to survive in your retirement. It's like, well, thank you so much for making it so difficult. So we'll see. It's like if there's a magic number, some people have a magic number as how much they should start and when they should start. But one thing that is absolutely for sure is that retirement and investing requires making regular deposits, putting some aside, again, becoming selfless. So we don't continue to spend on the latest cell phone or all the latest gadgets that we have, but always being conscious that we do need to put something aside this year. Maximus, how is retirement and planning for retirement viewed in Malaysia? What are some of the techniques or things that you guys do?
In Malaysia, we are. I can say that we consider lucky because our government, we had this provident fund where when we started to work when we are young, our salary, certain percentage will be deducted and keep in the provident funds, and then the employer also will contribute another part. Then it accumulates until we attain our retirement age. We can use it for retirement, but that is not sufficient enough to everybody, because some of us work with very little. I mean, our employment is only a very short time, where people will go into business or maybe go into other where it's not controlled under the employment. They have to do it for themselves for the saving for retirement. Most of the people will forget about it until the later age. Then they started to aware. Then they started to save. And then in Malaysia, a lot of people start to invest into property where they can gain rental income, and at the same time, when they attain old age, they can sell the house for retirement. more or less the majority will do this at so far.
Okay, very good. So yeah, I think many countries around the world do have the same system set up. That government holds some of their money back because they don't trust people to save for themselves. I think it's definitely true here in US. There are certain type of accounts that are set up that you can either put in there voluntary, or some of it is government. The one that the government holds, it keeps on depreciating. Right now, whenever I look at it, I think it says that so I'm 55, so supposedly I can retire in 10 years. And it says that in 10 years, I'm going to get like $2,000 a month, which is really nothing for our area. It's doable, but like you said, it's not sufficient enough. And then there are in US, there are accounts that individuals can contribute to it. And there are certain restrictions for it, that once you put money in there, you cannot take it out. You can, but then there will be a penalty on it. There's a lot of different ways that the government have been encouraging people to save for their retirement. So again, they don't become a burden on the society and their children and so forth. So let's look at, and then we can do more talk about this on different societies in the breakout sessions. But what I wanted to show is an example of what happens if we delay saving up for retirement. So for our first example is, and again, this is just an example in here, if someone here in US can save $10 a day, that's about $300 a month, and then can invest it somewhere where it would have a 7.5% return. And that 7.5% is on yearly basis. It's not on monthly basis. Such a thing does not exist. So if this person starts at age 35 through age 65, that's 30 years of saving. Over that 30 years, $10 a month, sorry, $10 a day, totals to $109,000. That's how much the person is sacrificing from his or her own expenses and putting it into a retirement account. And then at that 7% at age 65, if it's invested correctly, that 110,000 will become $400,000 just by sitting there, not doing anything, just by sitting there and gaining value in it. So that's about a 270, let's say 300% growth in there. And then at the age 65, if that same investment, that same money can continue to give that 7.5% interest, that would be 30,000 a year in income for that person. Again, there are people that live on that, but it's very tight, very difficult. And actually, with all the inflation and everything that has happened, it's almost becoming nearly impossible to live on that much money. I was talking to one of the friends in Nigeria, and I shared how much it in a single room costs in our city. And San Diego is not the most expensive in US. There are a lot of, I think San Francisco and New York are a lot more expensive, but it is very expensive in here. So it'll be very difficult. Now, let's say that the same person starts at 10 years earlier. So doing the same $10 a day at 7.5% every year, but instead of saving for 30 years, now saving for 40 years, from age 25 to 65. The money that that person puts in, it's only 30% more that this person is putting in. So instead of 110, he or she is putting 140 in there. But look at the growth. 100,000, it's over double that would be accumulated based on the interest that it's gaining. So it will have 124% increase over those 30 years. The gain is obviously a lot. And then look at the income that this person can draw from just starting to save 10 years earlier. It would be twice as much. So that's why it's so important. And retirement is nothing. The most important part of it is that it's basically like learning how to save, learning how not to just keep on spending everything that we have. And particularly in our societies these days, I think everyone is like, okay, we make money and we have to spend it. I'm having the same challenges with my two boys. They are into cars. They love cars. And they have begun to work. They are going to university, but they're also working. but they're spending all their money on their cars. And it's like, some of the money you have to give it to me. I have become their retirement account. It's like, I'm taking some of the money. I still have access to their bank account. So it's like, okay, some of it I take, because otherwise you're just going to spend all of it. That's how we're trying to teach them how to do this. All right. So there is a lot, and depending on where you live and what you're doing, but the basic concept of retirement, that's what it is. It's a time that is going to come. We need to prepare for it as young as possible, as early as possible. And again, it's about making deposits, not touching the money, and then also making sure that it is invested. And we will see the difference between, let's say, putting it into a savings account or putting into a savings, into an investment account. Any questions? Are we good? We will do a breakout session on this too. So what I want to get into is, I think the next one is about investing in courage. So Maximus, what's your thought about investing? What do you consider as investment?
There is two types of investment. One is investment in so-called what we say the asset. Another investing is what we have learned, investing in gaining more knowledge, investing in certain new skills, or what I call that, investing in our future. For example, now we are talking about retirement. Actually, investing in retirement is a very long-term projects that we have to pay attention. Many people have what do you call that, miss the good golden time for them to start to plan their retirement.
Yep, the opportunity. Yep, exactly. So and that's perfect. And the reason we put investing under courage is that there's a big difference between, so let's say, for example, if we take some money and put it into a savings account, it is there and it's safe. Here in US, all these savings accounts are insured by government up to $250,000. So even if a bank goes bankrupt and you have $250,000 in there, you will get it back from the government. As opposed to when you invest, so let's say you put money and you buy some stocks, there is no guarantee. Nobody is insuring that. No government or bank is. It's like you are taking a big risk. It takes courage to do that. So that's what investing is. Investing takes courage because there are a lot of unknowns. I mean, we try to take calculated risks. So whether we are investing in a real estate, whether we're investing in stocks, or even in our relationship, whenever two people get married, regardless of how much they know each other, I think we all agree, we have a lot of married people here, that even when we think we know our person to be our partner in life or even in business, once we get married and begin to live together, things changes. So it takes a lot of sacrifice. We're taking a leap of faith that this will work. With our children are an investment, a big investment, and it takes a lot of sacrifice on our part. It takes time. It takes us to change the way we live, the way we do things. So there's a lot of risk with it, and there's hope. There is potential for high return, and no matter how you look at it, for our marriage, for our relationship, for our business, for our children, and we hope that it will begin at some point of time to produce some results. Even with our children, we're hoping that at our golden age, they will come back and help us, especially if we have girls. I know it's kind of a known fact that those that have boys, like we know with our boys, they're probably going to throw us into a nursing home and say, okay, we'll come visit you maybe once or twice a year. These daughters are a little bit more in tune with keeping up with their parents as opposed to boys. That's what I've heard. So we'll see how it's going to be. So whenever we make an investment, there is an initial investment that we put in, whether it's knowledge, expertise, money, and time. Then there are going to be guaranteed challenges in our investments. No matter how you do it, there is no fixed guaranteed investments in here. It's going to have ups, downs, things that we have to make decisions on it. We don't want to put everything, focus all of our investments into one thing. And again, we're not just talking about monetary investments, all different things in here. We need to diversify, make sure that we have, so in the monetary aspect, if you're investing in stocks, there are different things in there. I know a lot of people are now have become very comfortable with investing in digital currency, Bitcoin, Dogecoin, all other stuff in here, which is some of them have become very risky. That people they get excited because they do see the ups, but then they don't necessarily consider the downs too. I'm not sure this is in here. One of the rules that I have personally for investments is that if I cannot think of losing the whole thing, I should not invest in it, especially when it comes to stocks and digital currency. If it's something that you cannot depart from it, do not invest in it. The next one is independent investigation of truth. Unfortunately, many people just invest in things that they don't understand, and they just do it based on what they see on TV, on internet, newspaper, friends, advisors, and colleagues. Now, these recommendations that we see in all different places, they're not bad. Some people that try to scam us from in different investments. We've seen a lot of those, but a lot of times we it's not for us. It might be right for someone else that has done it. They have done really good in it, but we really need to do our own homework. Is this right for me? Is this the right time for me or not? The other one that we put in here is that lifeless necessities don't stop. Many people think about starting a business, for example, and they feel that, oh, I'm going to start a business. I have this great idea. It's going to be successful. It's going to be great. And then I'm going to put all my effort, all my life saving into it. I just know it's going to be great. And they forget that they still have to live. They still have to pay for their life necessities. The business needs some investments in there. And anybody who thinks that starting a business, I have been involved with several startups. Usually my experience has been that startups takes at least 5 years. Anytime you start a new business, it takes about 5 years for it to begin to happen, begin to produce some income. If it does before the 5 years, it's icing on the cake. Then there is the ethical investing. So making sure that what we're investing in is ethical. It's not something that it's going to ruin somebody's life. We have seen a lot of those that people just don't consider that. And ultimately, investments takes patience. We have to be patient. We have to wait. Long term, again, it's all about long term and everything that we're looking at. So we'll just go, let's see, should we do this or should we do the breakout? Let's do the breakout and kind of consider on, so the questions are going to be, what are the different vehicles of investing that you have been involved in? How have you ever invested in something that is totally lost? You lost it. What lesson did you learn? So let's kind of do those and then we'll come back. Let me create the breakout rooms. Okay, so Maximus, I got you in room 1 and I'll go in room 2. Let me just make sure everybody's there. There we go. Okay, so 10 minutes. All right, is everyone here? Let me just check to see, did everybody get into their rooms? Okay. All right, who would like to share anything about an investment that you have made? And again, it doesn't have to be in money. It can be in anything else. And what's been your experience? Who would like to share? Anyone?
I can say that since last time I bought a house. So, yeah.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that, Alex? How did you decide? How did you prepare to buy a house? Was it a good one? Was it a good purchase? Or was it a good investment or not?
It seems like the motivation was our previous session actually, and or generally, I suppose. And so I decided and just checked the internet, and I found a house and contacted the people. It just took a few days, a couple of days, I think, and it was finished. So the time from decision making to completion was extremely short. And I hadn't ever contemplated it before having our session really, and so it gave me a why for doing it. Our previous one, I suppose, and
Okay.
then just everything seems to be falling into place.
Okay. And did you consult with a professional? Because that must have been a big investment, right? Buying a house is a big investment.
I didn't consult at all.
Oh.
So I had the money on. I had inherited some money, and it was just sitting there.
Okay.
And so I wanted to invest. First, I looked at a couple of just pieces of land that were on for sale, and then I found this house, and then I read up on what things to check about the house.
Okay.
When looking at it, and I had one experience before from looking at buying a house, so that helped a lot, of course, and but I had no experience just buying one, and I had prepared for buying one before actually, but any case, your question was, did I? Oh yeah, I suppose I had some experience, a little
Okay.
experience, and
All right.
But everything seemed right, you see, and I wanted to make sure there wasn't anything wrong with the house.
Okay.
And that it wasn't too high a price, that it was it was actually a really low price. It was so surprising. It's just strange how everything fell into place, it seems. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Samuel, Inus, you guys like to share anything about your experience with investing? It could be in anything. Go ahead, Samuel.
When I started, we heard of this crypto thing in our country or started. So I invested in one. It was okay. The next one, then they had a problem with the government. So we had to lose all our investments. So going forward, but that was when I was getting to understand investment. So I did a lot of research. I read a lot of books, watched videos, work for other programs to understand the whole thing. I started with mutual funds. I started with credit union, savings and shares and all that, with the intention that some years to come I'll start my own business. And so when I did all that, I feel for me to start a business. I didn't struggle so much because those investments were such that you go for portions of them for any project you want to take. when I started the business investment, the business said that.
Samuel, sorry, can you get a little closer to the microphone? We're having a hard time hearing you.
Okay, okay. It's okay now. It's okay.
Okay.
You have some music in the background.
Yeah, there's some noise. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, much better now. Thank you.
So, what I do now is I look for young startups, then I invest into their businesses where they need help financially, education, and other stuff. I help them to grow their business, and in exchange of a percentage in their business. So currently, that is what I'm doing.
Okay. All right. Very good. That's a great idea. Yeah, there are a lot of people that they want to start the business. They don't necessarily have the know-how. They are usually strong in something, but they need help with other people from other people. So that's a great thing. Inus?
Well, mine is different. I am being challenged by the people who have spoken. I think for me is when I joined this session for now, what we're doing right now is when I think about now how I need to invest in my money, how I need to save for the future. So I can't say that I have invested majorly on something, but currently what I'm doing right now is I have started to, the little money which I'm getting from my savings and the little income I'm getting is that now
Inus, we lost you. Hello. Just on the good part, then we lost her. Inus, we lost your sound. Okay, we can wait until she comes back. Hazel, would you like to add something?
Well, only thing I can say, if I knew what I know now, if I knew then. But anyway, I did invest in Market Creek. You might know about it.
Yeah, yep.
But initially we got a little bit of return, but now it's nothing. But it's okay. It's an experience of looking into what possibly could happen. For those of you that's around the world, it's a shopping center. So we'll see.
Yep, I'm well aware of that and what's happening with that. So yeah, I mean that's the thing with investments. Investments, as we're saying, it's risky. Often when we look at an investment, it looks very attractive, especially when people are talking about it. It's like, this is a great idea. This is something that we have to do, and people get excited about it. But then it takes a lot to make a investment successful. Whether it's a marriage, whether it's having children, in a shopping center, in a business, buying a house. It seems like most often buying a house is one of the safest investments, especially if you're planning on living in it. Yes, the prices do go up and down, sometimes a lot, sometimes very little. But then eventually it does, over time, it does go up. And there's always something, it's a tangible item, as opposed to, let's say, starting a business. But starting a business may not be successful, and all the money that has been spent for it could be all gone without any return. Same thing with stocks, with digital currency. As we were saying, that digital currency, now they keep coming and going. Sometimes they do really well, but then also all of a sudden you just lose them. So it's very risky in there. Okay.
I want to say something about the market now for houses. It's a seller's market, and every now I've heard about people are bidding. It's a bidding war too. So that's just the way it is.
Yes, yeah. What Hazel is sharing is that in US, I don't know if it's happening in other parts of the world or not, but in US, it has become crazy. The house prices all around US has gone up about 25% in 1 year. I don't think we have ever seen anything like this. We are all wondering, who are the people that are coming and buying all these real estate properties? Where are they, and how can they even afford it? It is very crazy.
Big developers.
Yep, it's very crazy. Okay, so if anybody else would like to, I don't know what happened to Inus, but we lost her. I think we totally lost her. If there's nothing else, let's go back to the main call and see what the other group has talked about. So we'll go back to the main hall. Okay, I think we have everyone back. Yep. All right, Maximus, who's presenting from your group?
Yes, Cherry from Kenya will help us to present.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We've all heard from our members, and we have had similar experiences, especially in the investment in stock market. And we've had similar experience in loss, whereby having invested and then the company randomly collapses, and there goes with our shares down. And also, what have we learned from this is that sometimes we invest blindly, not having been able to research on that company, or we have random advice from our friends. So we have learned that we need to carefully research on the company and how we are putting our money, and also not to be following the mass, because without proper knowledge of that company, we are so prone to losing. We've also seen that my mind also came up with a good investment, where if we invest in knowledge of our children, in knowledge of ourselves, in self-development, in learning new skills, it is the best investment that can help us even to cope later in life, because that can never be removed or denied or taken away or collapse. So that is already within us. So that's one of the best investment that we can do to ourselves. Maximus also shared that people invest in high risk investments in Malaysia. This is something that happened sometimes back, where people pull their money in, and behind the scenes, there's somebody who is pulling away the money, leading the company to collapse. So people need to analyze and learn the risks that are involved as we put our finances. Wherever we put our finances, let's analyze it and see the risks that are involved. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you so much. So this is great. And we talked along the same lines. We talked about investment in real estate. Alex mentioned that he had come to some inheritance and he purchased a house. Let's see, Inus was talking. She was just beginning to tell us what it was, but she dropped out. So she must have lost her connection. We didn't get to hear what she was talking about. But then also Hazel and let's see, who was, Samuel, we're talking about, Samuel was talking about that he invests in businesses that are just starting. They need some help, and not just the monetary aspects of it, is the education. And I think that's something that we have seen. Often people have an idea and they're really great at their idea, their creativity, but then they don't necessarily have the know-how on how to run a business. Even people that, I mean, I have a college degree. My degree is in engineering, but then throughout the 5 years that I went to school, they never taught us how to run a business. It was just, okay, this is what we were teaching you. You're going to be an engineer. That's it. That was actually, I remember the final year of our school, there was a speaker who came and said, he asked us, how many have a business plan? And we all sitting there, it's like, what is a business plan? Nobody ever taught us. And then he very much said that, well, those that don't have a business, they're going to fail in life. It's like, well, thank you so much. 5 years of going to school, I spent so much money on the school, and now you're telling us we're going to be a failure. So these starting a business is a lot more than just having an idea and putting some money in there and putting some effort into it. So it takes a lot in doing that. And Hazel was sharing that she is investor in a it's not just a shopping center, it's a community area that started like 25 years ago or something. And they were getting some return at the beginning, but then for the past few years, she has not seen anything, no return, no money has been returned to the investors. So these are, we see a lot of these. But as long as you guys were mentioning, Sarah was mentioning, as long as we do our own investigation. Inus, would you like to, we lost you. If you'd like to share, you were just beginning to talk about. We would love to hear what you wanted to share since you're back. Okay. And anytime you'd like to unmute yourself, we'll be happy to hear you. So I'm going to share my screen again and go back, and this one point in here. Let me just have my participants. The point about the independent investigation of truth. It is so important. It's not just about investment. It's about our relationship. It's about our religions, our spiritual beliefs. Unfortunately, humans are in a habit of just blindly following other people and not independently investigating the truth. What is it like for, I know anytime we want to invest in stocks here, like even if we ask an advisor, they have to show us how a particular stock has performed in the past 10, 5 years, depending on how many ever years. So the ones that are, and there are some advisors here that are obligated by law, they're called fiduciary. They are obligated to look after the benefit of their clients. But that is not the case for every advisor. There are some advisors that don't have that obligation. And most often they're just looking at their own benefit, because every time they sell and they buy, let's say, stocks, they make a profit on it. They get that's their fee that they charge, that they get from the customer, and often that's all they're thinking about. But with internet, things are changing. Part of it is good, and I think part of it is bad, because now we can do our own independent investigation. But then there's so much information out there that we don't know which one is right, which one is not right. But ultimately, I think a combination of just relying on what we can find on internet and then talking to different people and seeing what it is that we are getting into. So if you look at it, we see through our eyes, we hear through our ears, but we do have this thing up here, our brain, that needs to analyze everything. It's like, does it make sense? And we don't want to just keep on analyzing, because we'll just get stuck and never move forward. But a certain amount of analyzing is really helpful, and it would really be good. So just kind of overview again on the different types of investment vehicles. We talked about education. Education is definitely something that we need to invest in. Ourselves, our own education, our children, and our community too. So let's not forget that our community, our neighbors also need help in the education. And all of this information is in, as you can see, it's an advanced level workbook. That's where all this information is. Stocks and bonds, we talked a little bit about it. I will not go through details of what it is. You can read and then also find out about your local community. Depending on what country you're living in, stocks and bonds could be different. Stocks are usually for companies that need to raise money, whether they're a startup or they are already established. They sell their stocks on the open market, or if it's a startup, they might be just selling their shares to friends and family to raise some money here. Bonds are usually, at least the way we describe them here in US, they are government shares. They are fixed return. So when you buy a stock, when you buy a company stock, it's very volatile. It can go up and it can go down. You can make money or you can lose money on it. Bonds are a little bit more safe because basically government is borrowing money from you at a predetermined interest rate. So they do tell you when you buy bonds, government bonds, it tells you it will pay you 2%, 3%, whatever that is. But with stocks, there's never a guarantee. They never say, oh, this is how much you're going to get in return. It all depends on how well the company does, what is the market situation, and a lot of those things. Let's see, other differences between bonds and stocks. With bonds, the money that you put in there, it's usually safe, again, because it's backed by government, as opposed to stocks that you can just lose all of it. And the higher the risk is, the higher reward is too. So bonds gives you fixed interest, and then stocks, you could gain a lot or you can gain very little in here. In our society, in US society, our financial system, mutual funds is usually a combination of different stocks. So any financial group can put together a few different stocks in different sectors. It could be technology, it could be like gas, it could be transportation, and they call it the mutual funds in there. And they usually help manage those. I want to get into this other one. Our family and children, those are the ones that things that we definitely need to do some investment in it. Our community, everything that we're learning, hopefully we can bring it and help our community become a better place for not only ourselves and our family, but everyone. And then of course we talked about business and real estate in there too. So I'm going to stop a little here. There's a couple of things I want to share before we end, but wanted to see if anybody has any question or would like to add anything to our investments. But investments are really something that we need to get into. And I have a question. I'm just actually going to put it in the chat. So it seems like when we talk about investment, a lot of it is geared toward adults. What are your thoughts? What can we, or how can we teach investment to our children? Any thoughts to our children and youth? Maximus, you're teaching finances, and I'm sure investing is part of your program. What are you teaching your program participants about investing, the young ones?
So far, we only touch a little bit on investment for young one because so far I just started to learn about investment for young ones from my treasure that actually there is much more that we can share to the young ones. So far we concentrate on the 3S, spending, saving and sharing. Then I'm quite surprised that actually investment, we can teach it in different perspective to the children. So in coming future session, I will incorporate this type of investment, what do you call that, knowledge to them, because not only for children, every one of us, we should invest in our future, our knowledge, and maybe new skill, because the environment and everything around us change from time to time. We have to keep up to the pace so that we will not be, what do you call that, what do you call that, so that we can catch up with the trend.
Yep, stay current.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm glad to see that you're gaining something from Mind Treasure. So that's very cool. Yeah, you're right. And actually, when we started the program, we had two different boxes. We had one that had only 3 slots, and that's why it was a little smaller box. So it only had your 3 S's. But then as we went along, we realized that, oh, we can even teach investing to young ones too, not necessarily just investing in material and stuff, stocks and real estate. And that's why ultimately we have the box for everyone that has the 3 S's plus the I. That's what we've done. And I want to share with you what is in our program that can be shown to children. Let me just cue it up. I was trying to get to it. 44, there we go. All right. And I'm going to share. And this is the one. So with the children, this is the chart that we've created for the children. It's also in your workbook too, in your online workbook. So you're going to have an assignment. You'll have two assignments for next week. One is to complete all the activities in generosity, and I will put it in the chat. Then the other one is recognizing what our different resources are. So traditionally, we've only looked at resources or our wealth in the form of financial and material stuff. If you go into dictionary, when you look at the word wealth, it says material stuff. And rich is the one person that has some of it, and then wealthy is the one that has a lot of material stuff. And we're trying to change that. So our wealth and resources is not just limited to money. We have knowledge, we have talents, skills, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual powers. So the way we use these, we really don't do them in the online version, but in one down different types of wealth in here. And then what we do every session when we work with them. So remember, every session when we work with the students, we give them play money as allowance. So they learn how to split it up between the different boxes. And then they record it. So I'm going to go into our register book, if you remember our register book. So they record, today is the date, how much allowance I got, how much I put in to spend, share, invest, and save. So now what we also teach them is that our investing and sharing is not limited just to monetary aspects of life. From this chart, we can also share and invest our different types of wealth. So as some of you were mentioning, these are little boxes that are meant to be cut out. So the participants can cut this little box, this little square, and say, I want to share 1 hour of my time. So they cut that little square and then they put it in their share. So over time, they see that they have shared so many hours of their time. Or their knowledge. Somebody says, I'm good at math and I can teach math. I can tutor math to others. So they write, let's say, math under knowledge. They cut that piece out. They can put it either in share or they can put it in, either in invest. So by the time you go through the 12-week program, not only they have money in their invest and share, but they also have these little squares in their boxes. So we can see, oh, our community needs something. Our community needs a lot of, we need, like, for example, we need to create a park, a new recreation area. And so we need money to buy the land, to buy the building, but we also need human resources. Somebody can bring in and do their time. Somebody can offer their talents and skills. Our physical power, these are our muscles. Mental powers, we can be help to other people. Our emotional powers, we can be a good listener, as we were talking about. We can listen to people. And our spiritual powers is that's the most important one, our character traits, our treasures. But then anything that we do in life, we need to rely on spiritual powers. And we'll see that next week for our final session. We'll heavily concentrate on how do we seek divine guidance in any aspects of life, whether it's relationship, a business, our school, our finances, everything. So these are the different things. And I know we talked about blood. So this is our blood donation. And I put it in here one every other time because we cannot give blood regularly. We have to separate that. So you see, this is a great exercise for the children. So they can easily see that how we can share and invest different types of resources. So Samuel says, my children have money box, which allows them to save money. They have learned about bank from school. So I have promised them to invest account investment account at the end of the year with their savings to encourage them to be consistent, and they are happy. This is great. That's all it takes, a little bit of time from us as parents to begin to work with our children. With our boys, the system that we had was anytime they wanted to buy something. So let's say if they wanted to buy a Lego set and the Lego set was $20, they would have to buy the Lego set with the 20, The other 20, they would put it in their bank and we would match it for them. That was the deal, that if you, whatever money that you put in the bank, we will match it for you. That was like kind of our retirement setup that we had created for our boys. There are many different things to track their finances through the register book. I'm actually going to go into, where is our register book? So remember, whenever we give allowance to our children or pocket money, and hopefully that's something that if you are not doing with your children, you can begin to do that. They can keep track of it in here, how much they got, what day they got it, how much allowance. So let's say today, again, today is August 16, if I'm not mistaken, 8/16. So let's say I get a little bit more allowance today. At a young age, they don't necessarily need to worry about life necessities, food, water, clothing, shelter, and health, but they can begin to learn these concepts from a young age, and they can help us. Remember, we talked about creating a shopping list. That's whenever we go to supermarket, that's when children can help with. So in here, let's say today I want to allocate $10 for my spend. This worksheet where it's available for students to use this online worksheet. It's very helpful. This is what we use in our schools, because our schools, all the students have their dedicated either laptop or a tablet. So we create one of these for each one of them. And then every time we present one of the lesson plans, then at the end, we give them paper money as the allowance. They put it in the treasure box and they record it in here. So today, somebody wants to share a little bit more, 5. They want to put some money for their investment, 10. Actually, let's make this one 10 too, because we're talking about sharing and investing today. And then what's left for them is $10. So here through this worksheet, they see that they can use this and do the math. So depending on their math level, they do this, and the worksheet actually gives them feedback. So the way we do it, 10 plus 10 is 20. If I try to put 30 in here, it comes back and tells me that this is not right. It doesn't do the calculation for them. It doesn't give them the answer, but it tells them that your calculation, this is how you calculate it. And then once I put 20 in here, then it likes it. So I'll do all of these. And the online worksheet also giving me this little emojis on the right-hand side. So it tells me that, okay, I did all my balances correctly. So I'm gonna do my interest in here, because I'm giving 5% on the $5. And through this, they can see that how compounding interest works. That is how it's explained in this. There's a question from Terry. It says, how do one encourage the children to share? For example, I ask my kids to buy birthday gifts for their friends from their pocket money, but they don't like it so much, they ask me to buy instead. Anybody would like to respond to Terry? She's asking that her children don't like to share. Terry, we've never even asked our kids to buy birthday gifts for their friends, but that's totally up to you. And depending on the age too. I mean, right now they're older, their own money, and because they work and they do part-time jobs, so they do buy their birthday gifts for their friends. Anybody would like to share? This is the question that Terry is posing. How do we encourage our children to share? Maximus, any ideas? Since you've been working with children, I'm gonna stop sharing.
Yes. To encourage children to share, we need to. It's a process. It's not a knowledge. It's a process that we have to. We as parents, we are the best teachers to them. They are observing us. So to encourage them, we must lead by example. So for example, we are teaching the 3 S's: spending, saving, and sharing. The parents and even ourselves as a coach, we lead by example. We share to the student. Then we let them know when we share, actually we are not giving away what we have, we are gaining back. We are gaining back maybe happiness, we are gaining back fulfillment. The children need some time to pick it up, but actually they from observance they know. We just need them to have an environment that they have this habit to execute their sharing habits, and they need an environment, they need a platform as well. We if inside a family, the parents is the best person to let them learn from us, because they are observing all the parents daily activities. So parents, if you can lead by example, you practice the sharing, the children, they will learn and then they will follow.
Very good. Thank you. Samuel, would you like to add something?
Okay, I think I will side with what Martin just said. I If they are of age, you can raise that topic and ask them to go and do their own research for, let's say, a weekend. Let's say, so you create like something like every weekend we'll have something to share, or a month, each month we'll have a topic to discuss and do like a practice it. So the topic like this about sharing. So each weekend you just ask them to come up with their own experiences, what they learned about. So they share, we discuss the whole topic. Then we ask, how can we practice it, whether with ourselves or outside? And we as parents will have to demonstrate it to them. So with my wife, I don't give her things to my wife as if it's just a responsibility, but it's it should be as if it's a way of giving to her, so they will learn from me what I am doing, and also things that I buy for them. Sometimes I buy things for myself, but the child watching me should not look at it as if it is mine or something I bought for them is just for them. It is mine, but it's good I share. So those that I have, I share with them. Then they will learn from it, then duplicate it with themselves and their friends outside. So that's what I think can be done.
Very good. That is perfect. Yes, definitely. Our children look after. I mean, look at what we do, and it's not just about sharing. Anything that we do, which often we forget that our children are learning from us. I know I'm just kind of going a little side tracking here, but even sometimes if somebody calls and they want to, let's say, talk to me or talk to my wife, and I just want to don't talk to them and say, well, I'm busy, tell them I'm not here or whatever. Our children are listening. They are learning from us that it's okay to tell a little white lie in here. And then also being generous. Yes, as both Samuel and Maximus says, we set by example, and it takes time. And watching videos, those are so helpful. So the few videos that we have for our lesson plans, or any other videos that you can see, how sharing a little bit can make it such a big difference in other people's lives, that we often take what we have for granted. I'm sure Hazen and I can talk about this. Most often, there are several classes that we usually teach in school. They have between 25 to 35 students, and we do not push them. We do not tell them, oh, you have to share. The only thing when we do the program at schools is that the only thing that they have to do, they have to put money into their allocate in their spend box, because that is for our life necessities. They have to put money in there. Even they don't necessarily understand it at the beginning, but then saving, sharing, and investing, those are all up to them. The first few weeks, we give them examples. And then after that, it's like totally up to them. And children begin to see. That's why teaching finances cannot be done in like 1 or 2 hour or 3 hour session. It's a lifetime journey. that can start in programs like this, whether for adults or for children and youth, but then it has to be followed through with parents throughout one's life. So it takes time, but being consistent. I can also share that with our boys and giving contribution to the Baha'i funds, to the charitable funds. When they were young, we would give them some money. They would come in and put it, donate it, make that donation in there. Once they got a little older and we began to give them allowance. So before 5, I think we started giving our children allowance at the age of 5. So before 5, we would just give them some money, some coins or some money, and we'll take them. And then so they develop that habit in them. Once they start having their own allowance, then we would just remind them. And I remember one of them wanted to do it, the other one didn't want to do this. Like, that's fine. I'm not forcing you. We have hopefully developed that habit in you. And then they go. Sometimes one of them does, sometimes one of them doesn't. Sometimes one of them do. So, but just a reminder, and even now that they're 19 and 20, sometimes a reminder is nice, not force, but just a reminder. And Alex shared a great quote in here. If you're seeing it in the chat, this is, I think, it is in our facilitator manual that talks about that is continually emptying itself of all that it has and is continually being refilled from an invisible source, to be continually giving out of the good for our fellows, undeterred by fear of poverty and reliant on the unfailing bounty of the source of all wealth and all good. This is the secret of right living. So it is often, particularly with adults, I think we have the fear of losing everything. That's why we're a little hesitant in sharing. And children, the same too. They don't want to necessarily share. I'm sure every parent has experienced this. You ask your child to share their toys with someone else, and they don't say it. Maximus, go ahead, please.
Yes, I missed one more point. This point we learned it just now also. Normally, when we try to encourage children to share, normally we educate them first that wealth actually is not money alone. Wealth is time, is family love, health, and knowledge, wisdom. We let them know that wealth consists of so many things, like what we learned just now. Then they will not focus on money, and they will not the weightage they will not put on only money. When they started to have allowance, and when there is a time for them to accumulate their allowance saving, they will appreciating their saving. Then they will weighted the money as a very heavy weightage. Then they don't want to share. But if they understand wealth consists of so many things, money is just a tool to exchange, then slowly they will know the rationale behind why we won't be so selfish that you don't want to share, because most of our thing is too materialistic that we have to give up some value. Like for example, just now, to buy a cake for a friend, we need to use our money to buy. So if we understand the meaning of wealth, then probably these children will learn. Hey, when I buy cake to celebrate, he or she will be very happy, and I will gain joy as well. And then we can celebrate a party together. Then I think this is the best way to educate. That's why education it's a process. It's not. We need time to teach them. Thank you.
Yeah, very good. Thank you so much. And I want to go back to where we started and share this quote again. It says, if man be imbued with all good qualities, but be selfish, all other virtues will fade or pass, and eventually something we have to have. Yes, we can be patient just for ourselves. We can be responsible just to ourselves. We can be accountable just to ourselves. But if you're not teaching, if you're not showing that virtue of generosity and selflessness, everything else will just go away in there. So we're at the end of our session. Reminder for next week, and I will put it in the group chat. So next week is about our talent and creativity. So throughout the week, we would love everyone to post their, I will open up the chat in the WhatsApp group to everyone. We would love to see your creativity and talent, whatever that is. It could be singing, drawing, your business ideas, whatever that is, because we're going to build on our talents and passion and creativity and how we do things. So thank you so much, everyone. Great to have you here. I was a little worried that we will have only a few people this morning, but great to have everyone. Have a great week, and we will see you next Monday for our final session.